For the second part of this lecture, we'll continue to learn about security monitoring and improvement. Security performance is the measurable result of security controls applied to information systems and supporting information security programs. The Information Security Forum Standard of Good Practice for Information Security defines the security performance function as comprising three areas. Security monitoring and reporting consists of monitoring security performance regularly and reporting to specific audience, such as executive management. Information risks reporting consists of producing reports relating to information risk and presenting reports to executive management on a regular basis. Information security compliance monitoring consists of information security controls derived from regulatory and legal drivers and contracts that are used to monitor security compliance. An essential element of security performance assessment is the selection of security performance metrics. We'll first look at the topic of security performance metrics and then learn about these three areas. Security performance metric, also called as security performance measurement, indicates a variable related to security performance to which a value is assigned as a result of measurement. The NIST directions in security metrics research lists the three main broad uses of security metrics. The first area is strategic support. Assessments of security properties can be used to aid in different kinds of decision-making, such as program planning, resource allocation, and product and service selection. Another area is quality assurance. Security metrics can be used during the software development lifecycle to eliminate vulnerabilities. Specifically, during code production, the metrics perform several functions such as measuring adherence to secure coding standards, identifying vulnerabilities that are likely to exist, and tracking and analyzing security flaws that are eventually discovered. The last area is tactical oversight. Monitoring and reporting of security status or posture of an IT system can be carried out to determine compliance with security requirements. For example, policies, procedures, and regulations. Monitoring and reporting can also be carried out to gauge the effectiveness of security controls and manage risks, to provide basis for trend analysis, and to identify specific areas of improvement. A security officer or a group who are responsible for developing a set of metrics for security performance assessment rely on several authoritative sets. As we learned in Chapter 1, COVID-5 organized the techniques used to achieve effective security into 5 domains and 37 processes. In particular, the monitor, evaluate, and assess domain is closely related to security performance measurement. It deals with strategy in assessing the need of a company and whether the current IT system still meets the objectives for which it was designed and the controls necessary to comply with regulatory requirements. It also covers the issue of an independent assessment performed by internal and external auditors regarding the effectiveness of IT system in its ability to meet business objectives and the company's control processes. The table here summarizes 3 processes and lists the metrics for each process. In addition, the NIST Performance Measurement Guide for Information Security lists a number of candidate metrics that an organization can tailor, expand, or use as models for developing other metrics. In essence, the metrics measure the effectiveness of the implementation of security controls. Further, as we discussed in Chapter 1, the Center for Internet Security has presented several critical security controls, and also published a companion document that provides a number of security metrics for each control. Each metric includes a set of 3 risk threshold values. These risk threshold values reflect the consensus of experienced practitioners and offer as a way for organizations to consider and choose metrics in the context of their own security improvement programs. For example, the table here on the slide shows the metrics defined for the maintenance, monitoring, and analysis of audit logs control. This figure here on the slide from National Institute of Standards and Technology's special publication shows the process of developing information security metrics. It shows how this process takes place within a larger organization context. It also demonstrates that information security metrics are used to progressively measure implementation, efficiency, effectiveness, and business impact of information security activities within organizations or for specific systems. The information security metric development process consists of two major activities. The first main activity is identifying and defining the current information security program. And the second activity is developing and selecting specific metrics to measure implementation, efficiency, effectiveness, and the impact of the security controls. The first four phases shown in the figure summarize the information security program development process. Based on inputs from stakeholders, security goals and objectives are developed. The goals and objectives lead to the development of security policies, which in turn guide security program implementation. Phase 5, 6, and 7 involve developing metrics that measure process implementation, effectiveness, efficiency, and mission impact. The organization selects metrics that measure performance, identify causes of unsatisfactory performance, and identify areas for improvement. The metrics also provide guidance for the security manager to facilitate consistent policy implementation, effect information security policy changes, and refine goals and objectives. In addition, the figure on the slide also shows the manner in which the development of a set of metrics interacts with the system program development process. Shirley Payne's A Guide to Security Metrics provides guidance on implementing a metrics program, which consists of 7 steps. The first step is defining metric program goals and objectives. The second step is deciding which metrics to generate. Security officials can use the guidance provided by COVID-5, NIST, and CIS. The third step is developing strategies for generating the metrics. These strategies should specify the source of the data, the frequency of data collection, and who is responsible for the accuracy data, data compliance into measurements, and the generation of the metric. The fourth step is establishing benchmarks and targets. An organization should compare the metric values against industry norms to determine areas where best practices suggest the improvement in the security program is needed. And the fifth step is determining how metrics will be reported. The metrics program planner should determine the context, format, frequency, distribution method, and responsibility for reporting metrics. The sixth step is creating an action plan and act on it. The plan should detail the steps that need to be taken to launch a security metric program, along with the timetables and assignments. And the final step is establishing a formal program review and refinement cycle. The security metrics plan should include formal regular review of the program. The objective of security monitoring and reporting is to provide each audience with a relevant, accurate, comprehensive, and coherent assessment of information security performance. COVID-5 provides specific guidance on security monitoring and reporting based on 3 processes defined earlier in this video. These 3 processes include performance and conformance, system of internal control, and compliance with external requirements. For the performance and conformance process, COVID-5 defines the following 5 steps. The first step is establishing a monitoring approach. An organization engages with its stakeholders to establish and maintain a monitoring approach to define the objective, scope, and method for measuring business solution and service delivery and contributions to enterprise objectives. The second step is setting performance and conformance targets. The organization works with its stakeholders to define, periodically review, update, and approve performance and conformance targets within the performance measurement system. The third step is collecting and processing performance and conformance data. The organization collects and processes timely and accurate data aligned with its approaches. The fourth step is analyzing and reporting performance. The organization periodically reviews and reports performance against targets using a method that provides a concise, all-around view of IT performance and fits within its monitoring system. The last step is ensuring the implementation of corrective actions. The organization assists stakeholders in identifying, initiating, and tracking corrective actions to address anomalies. For the system of internal control process, COVID-5 defines the following 8 steps. The first step is monitoring internal controls. An organization continuously monitors, benchmarks, and improves the IT control environment and control framework to meet organizational objectives. The second step is reviewing business process controls effectiveness. The organization reviews the operation of controls, including a review of monitoring and test evidence to ensure that the control in business process operate effectively. The third step is performing control self-assessment. The organization encourages management and process owners to take positive ownership of control improvement through a continuing program of self-assessment to evaluate the completeness and effectiveness of management control over processes, policies, and contracts. The fourth step is identifying and reporting control deficiencies. The organization identifies control deficiencies, analyzes and identifies its underlying root causes, and also escalates control deficiencies and reports to stakeholders. The fifth step is ensuring that the assurance providers are independent and qualified. The organization ensures that the entity performing assurance are independent from the function, groups, or organizations in scope. The sixth step is planning assurance initiatives. The organization plans assurance initiatives based on its objectives and strategic priorities, inherent risk, and resource constraints. The seventh step is scoping assurance initiatives. The organization defines and agrees with management on the scope of assurance initiative based on the assurance objectives. The last step is executing assurance initiatives. The organization executes the planned assurance initiatives, reports on identified findings, and provides positive assurance opinions and recommendations for improvement. The NIST special publication provides a review of implementing and monitoring and reporting functions based on the security performance metrics. This process proceeds in 6 steps. The first step is preparing for data collection. In essence, this step involves the metrics development process, which we discussed earlier in information security metric development process. The second step is collecting data and analyzing results. The analysis should identify gaps between actual and desired performance, identify responses for undesired results, and identify areas that require improvement. The third step is identifying corrective actions. Based on the result of Step 2, the organization determines appropriate corrective actions and prioritizes the actions based on the risk mitigation goals. The fourth step is developing business case. This involves developing a cost model for each corrective actions and making a business case for taking that action. The fifth step is obtaining resources. This entails gathering the needed budget and resource allocation. The final step is applying corrective actions. These actions may include adjustments in management, technical, and operational areas. Risk reporting is a process that produces information system reports that addresses threats, capabilities, vulnerabilities, and inherent risk changes. It describes any information security events that the organization faces and the effectiveness of management response to the event, as well as resilience in the face of these events. An organization needs to have a method for disseminating these reports to appropriate members of management. One objective of information risk reporting is to provide executive management with an accurate, comprehensive, and coherent view of information risk across the organization. Another objective is to obtain approval from executive management for risk treatment options. The Information System Audit and Control Association has developed useful guidance on information risk reporting based on COVID-5. The guidance makes use of 2 key concepts in COVID-5. The first one is process. Refers to the collection of practices influenced by the organizational policies and procedures that takes inputs from a number of sources, manipulates the inputs, and produces outputs. Another one is activity. It indicates the main actions taken to operate the process, which provides guidance to achieve management practices for successful governance and management of enterprise IT. Using these 2 concepts, it outlines the goals and metrics for processes and activities that contribute to risk reporting function. The objective of information security compliance monitoring is to ensure that information security controls are consistently prioritized and addressed according to the information security obligations associated with litigations, regulations, contracts, industry standards, and organizational policies. COVID 5 provides specific guidance on security monitoring and reporting for compliance with external requirements. For the process of ensuring compliance with external requirements, COVID 5 defines the following 4 steps. The first step is identifying external compliance requirements. On a continuous basis, an organization needs to identify and monitor for changes in local and international laws, regulations, and other external requirements that the organization must comply with from an IT perspective. The second step is optimizing response to external requirements. It involves reviewing and adjusting policies, principles, standards, procedures, and methodologies to ensure the legal, regulatory, and contractual requirements are addressed and communicated. It also entails considering industry standards, codes, and good practice guidance for adoption and adaptation. The third step is confirming external compliance. The organization is required to confirm compliance of policies, principles, standards, procedures, and methodologies with legal, regulatory, and contractual requirements. The last step is obtaining assurance of external compliance. The organization needs to obtain and report assurance of compliance and adherence with the policies, principles, standards, procedures, and methodologies. It also needs to confirm that corrective actions to address their compliance gaps are closed in a timely manner. In addition, the following steps on the slide constitute a general approach to information security compliance monitoring.